Anthony Davis and your Dallas Mavericks look to get a bounce-back road win over Paolo Banchero and the Orlando Magic. We'll get you ready for tonight's game. Coming up next on the DLLS Mavs pregame show. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs. Appreciate you joining us here on the pregame show as your Dallas Mavericks face Paolo Banchero and the Orlando Magic tonight, looking for a bounce-back road win as they continue their East Coast road trip. We'll get you ready for tonight's game over the course of the next half hour, let you know who's in, who's out. We'll focus in on Mavericks player spotlight as well. You'll hear from Jason Kidd throughout the course of our pregame show as well. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports. Find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free and give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. Gentlemen, on this terrific Thursday, shout out to MFFL who says, what does that say? It's a little small. What is it?
To correct Tim Cato, Paolo Banchero is the best half
remember
Italian,
they do
half
that
African American
one.
since Kobe. I can Danilo Gallinari erasure, but
Wow.
I was already doing that when I said Melly was the best.
Okay, there we
The
go.
best since Kobe. So
Bobby,
I appreciate the correction.
there you go. Bobby, what's up, man? You good?
I'm good. I'm good. This is a big game, man. This is a big game. Again, every single game is like a full referendum on the agenda. Whatever your preferred outcome is,
Sure.
every game is getting more important because not only are the Mavs playing the Magic tonight, but the Kings are hosting the Blazers. That's
are.
a big one. The team immediately ahead of the Mavs, the team immediately behind them. And then tomorrow, Phoenix is at Minnesota. This next 24 hours, honestly, it's not going to decide the season, but it's going to come pretty close.
You think it's the most important 24 hours of your life?
Not of my life, certainly not, but of many people's lives, possibly not. But there's only one way to find out, and that's to fast forward 24 hours.
Well,
Get back to me on Saturday.
we're going to watch some games before that, and, of course, some consequential games coming up for the Dallas Mavericks over the next few days, obviously, as the regular season continues to wind down. Game number 74 on the season for your Dallas Mavericks to come into tonight's game, 35-38 on the year, 15-22 away from the American Airlines Center, visiting Paolo Banchero and the Orlando Magic so far this year. They've got the same 35-38 record, but they are 19-17 at home so far this year. Magic 6.5-point favorite tonight, with the over-under being 219.5. If you're going to be watching tonight's game, of course, it tips off at 6 p.m. You can watch it on Mavs TV and KFAA Channel 29 as well. Let's let you set up where both of these teams are coming into tonight's game. Let's start, of course, with your Dallas Mavericks, 11th in the Western Conference, tied with the same record with the Phoenix Suns, but the Suns, of course, hold the tiebreaker. They lost last night, actually got blown out last night by the Boston Celtics. So both teams 35-38 coming into today's game, with the Phoenix Suns right now currently in 10th by virtue of holding the tiebreaker. Mavericks 2-1 in their last 3 games, 1-1 currently on this 4-game East Coast road trip, with the win over the Nets on Monday and then losing on the second night of a back-to-back to Karl-Anthony Towns and the Knicks on Tuesday. They'll continue their East Coast road trip on Saturday when they face Kobe White and the Chicago Bulls. So far this year, Dallas 12-13 against the Eastern Conference, at 21-14 though against teams below 500. Meanwhile, for the Orlando Magic, they are 8th in the Eastern Conference right now. They sit a half game behind the Atlanta Hawks for the 7th seed in the East currently. They've won 3 straight games and 4 out of their last 5 overall, as they are coming off wins, including over the Lakers and the Hornets in their last couple of games. They're just 8-18 though so far against the Western Conference this year, but are 20-15 against teams below 500. Orlando's is beginning a 3-game homestand tonight that starts with Dallas, that will continue on Saturday when they take on the aforementioned Sacramento Kings. So Orlando could be helping out the Mavericks.
It's a long flight from Sacramento.
That is.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's a long flight from Sacramento.
Holy moly, dude.
As Bobby mentioned, they're hosting the Portland Trail Blazers tonight and then they will be in Orlando on Saturday evening. That gets us to our lead story tonight. Anthony Davis going to be playing in his second game since his return from the left adductor strain that had him missing 18 games and 6 weeks. He is available and good to go tonight for the Mavericks, as, of course, he played 26.5 minutes in the game on Monday against the Brooklyn Nets, scoring 12 points, was a plus 12 in his time on the floor. What more can we expect from Anthony Davis, who is still working his way back? Jason Kidd discussing what it means for Anthony Davis to be playing right now and why it's important that he is on the floor for this team. Here's what Jason Kidd had to say.
You know, for AD, his character, you know, the injury came at the wrong time. He was playing extremely well in that 2.5 quarters against Houston. I think when you talk about leadership, he wanted to get back on the court as a responsibility. Again, I think sometimes we lose sight that this is a job and that you owe it to your team, to the organization, to work as hard as you can to get back from injury. And we have quite a few guys that are doing that right now. We get Caleb back. Hopefully we get D-Live and Gaff back. Those guys are working extremely hard to get back. And it's just a character when you look at AD's ability to come back from injury, understand where we are in the standings, and trying to help get us to that next level. And I think it just shows the character and what he cares about for him to come back from injury. He could easily have been ruled out for the season, and no one would have questioned that.
Anthony Davis, who had a 28-minute restriction on Monday, tonight will have a 24 to 28-minute restriction as they take on the Orlando Magic, who are a much more physical team, and honestly just a much better team than the Brooklyn Nets that they are facing tonight. Tim, I'll start with you. What more do you think we can expect from Anthony Davis tonight, taking on a good defensive Orlando Magic team as Anthony Davis gets on the floor tonight?
Kevin, do you remember last week?
A little bit.
Okay. Do you remember the multiple Mavs PR tweets that said Anthony Davis has been assigned to the Texas Legends?
That's right.
Do you remember the jokes that were made about this? Oh my God, the Texas Legends, they're looking good this year.
That's right.
Anthony Davis, his debut, his return for the Dallas Mavericks was essentially a G League game. It was as easily as you can ease back into NBA action, if you want to call it that. NBA action. It's as easily as you could ease your way back in without really facing NBA level opponents. And Anthony Davis treated that way, as is his right, coming back, easing back in. He was walking around for, walking, jogging. It was not an explosive return. And I think that's left us with questions, questions he can very easily answer. If he's ready to go and he looks like Anthony Davis out there, then that will make very clear that return, that debut was just him taking the game with the seriousness that the Nets asked, which isn't very much. But I think that there's a lot of eyes on this game to see that a player is still on a minutes restriction who had been out 6 weeks, 18 games. Let's see how he looks against a real test. This is a real NBA team. This is a team that has the second best defense in the NBA, the second best for the entire season. And they have big men. They have size. They have physicality. This is where that's going to get tested. Not even, I think his defense is important. Certainly it matters against a team like this. He's going to be matching up at times against Paolo or Franz, but I think what he can do offensively as well. We saw him, 2 of the easiest buckets you've ever seen, were the first 2 buckets of the Brooklyn game. Let's see how he looks offensively. Let's see how he looks defensively. Let's see how he looks physically. This is the real debut, the real return for Anthony Davis. Looking forward to seeing exactly how he fares against a team like this.
Yeah, I want to talk about the defensive end. I don't know that I want him guarding Paolo or Franz, whether it's like Wendell Carter or someone. I mean, it's tough. The Magic don't have necessarily like non-shooters that you can get a little inventive with, creative with, and mix them around. And the Mavs, frankly, don't have the wing depth without PJ to mix and match too. So he might have to guard one or both of those guys at times. But if you're guarding Carter, then you're getting, you're banging down low on the block, and that's, difficult in its own right. But regardless, there's a lot of guys that are going to be coming to the rim with a lot of force. They're going to be attacking the basket, and he's going to have to cover ground. He's going to have to change direction. He's going to have to meet guys, at the air, at the summit. Everything is going to be a little more physical, a little more challenging, and that is going to be a big test for him. It didn't look like he was moving well the other night. Y'all are right whenever you say that. Tonight he's going to have to, and if he's not moving well, if he does want to kind of take it slow, then it's going to be very difficult to get stops. I mean, the Magic can shoot a little bit, but they can really go at the rim, and if you're not ready to stop them, then they can outmuscle you. I mean, Paolo's on a tear. Franz is really good. It's a very talented team.
I think every time Goga Batadze is on the court, that's an obvious player for Anthony Davis to guard. He's a center, but he's not a scoring center. He does take a few threes here and there, but he's someone within the Mavericks defensive system that they're going to very easily target as somebody to sag off of, to play help defense. And I think that is a role that makes sense. Then again, it might not be a choice if Kai Jones is once again the starter, which we should know by now. I'll let one of y'all look it up. But if Kai Jones is the starter, we saw how he fared against Cat. It's a great test. We're going to learn a lot about him. Yeah. But that might be a matchup that Paolo or Franz just takes advantage of. So it could be a situation where Anthony Davis is not tasked with guarding Paolo or Franz and looks around the court and looks at these guys scoring repeatedly and says, okay, I got it now. Whether that's good or bad, I think we can tell this is a very proud player, a player who believes in what he's able to do. That's why he's back. He didn't have to come back this season. He wants to show what he's capable of. So I agree. I think ideally he is kind of the roaming help man. But I think without Goga on the floor, and he isn't a player who starts for them, I think it might be a situation where there's no other choice if Paolo and Franz keep doing what we know they're capable of, and certainly Paolo, as you mentioned, has been doing over the past few weeks.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. In fact, in his last 10 games, averaging 29.8 points per game and 8 rebounds per contest as well, while giving you nearly 4 assists per game and playing nearly 37 minutes per contest. Overall for the year, Banchero averaging nearly 26 points per game for Orlando. Meanwhile, Franz Wagner, his running mate, averaging over 24 points per game, nearly 6 rebounds, and nearly 5 assists per contest while playing nearly 34 minutes per game so far this year. So a good duo, a terrific duo when it comes to the Orlando Magic and the big men that they present there. Meanwhile, for your Mavericks, they're led by Najee Marshall, who's been on a tear as of late. So far this year, averaging 13.5 points per game on nearly 51% shooting from the field. Klay Thompson averaging over 15 points per game in his last 9 games. Kai Jones, the aforementioned Kai Jones, averaging nearly 13 points per game and nearly 9 rebounds in his 4 games so far with the Dallas Mavericks. Interesting enough, with the profile of the Orlando Magic, yes, they're only 3 games below 500, but when you look at the statistical profile, you would think this might be one of the worst teams in the NBA when you start going through some of the numbers. They're second worst in the NBA points per game, 4th worst in field goal percentage, last in 3-point percentage, 9th worst in free throw percentage. They're also the 4th worst rebounding team in the league as well, and they're last in assists per game, which also puts them 4th worst in terms of offensive rating. So what do you say? How are they winning games? They defend like crazy. This is a team in the Orlando Magic coming into tonight's action, number 2 in the NBA in defensive rating. Jamal Mosley and his group get after you on that end of the floor. So basically the name of their game is, we may not score a whole bunch, but you're not either. So that's how they are able to win games a lot of the time these days. These two teams getting together for the final time this season. The Mavericks won way back when on November 3rd at the American Airlines Center, what was a 108-85 blowout win at the AAC. The leading scorer that night, Luka Doncic, he had 32 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists in that game in the win. Franz Wagner only had 13 points in the losing effort. No Paolo Banchero that particular night for Orlando, so big difference, obviously, with tonight with Banchero available for the Magic. Dallas 8-2 in their last 10 games against the Orlando Magic as well. So the Mavericks have had the number over Orlando over the last 10 games. Coming up here on the DLLS Mavs pregame show, we'll let you know who's in, who's out. We'll focus in on our Mavericks player spotlight as well before looking at some X factors for tonight's game. But before we get there, let's help you win some money when it comes to Sleeper.
It's my sleeper pick of the night. I'm riding quite the winning streak. All right. So I'm feeling myself. but I'm not going too far tonight. I'm playing it nice and safe with a nice little 10% payout boost on top of things. I think Najee Marshall, he's going to get at least 15 points. 80 on that minutes restriction. I'm taking 80 for less than 19.5 points, actually. Call me a hater if you want, but I think he's going to have less than 19.5. And then Paolo, I think Paolo's going to score at least 25 points. So sleeper, the more you pick, the more you win. My multiplier tonight is times 3.19, meaning with that 10% payout boost, my $5 play would net me $17.
Oh, let's go.
And 54 cents.
Let's go.
If I keep winning,
right
I'm going to keep
That's right.
dancing.
Loaded.
That's like extra loaded queso, like
Ooh.
triple loaded nachos. We're living well.
Slow down, high roller. Good gracious.
Yeah,
Get a
download
whole
sleeper.
appetizer for that.
Use promo code DLS Mavs. Play $5 to get $55 anytime you like.
I see what you did there, Tim. I like what you're thinking about there. Maybe a Gator reader or two or something like that. Let's let you know who's in and who's out for tonight's game between your Dallas Mavericks and the Orlando Magic. Let's start with the opposition. Cole Anthony, he is out with a left big toe strain. Jalen Suggs, of course, is out with a left knee injury. And Moritz Wagner, the other Wagner brother, he is out, of course, with a torn left ACL. Anthony Davis still available and good to go for your Dallas Mavericks tonight, playing in his second game since his return from the left adductor strain. As we mentioned a little bit earlier, 24 to 28 minute restriction for him tonight as he takes on Orlando. Brandon Williams, he is also available, which means after tonight, he will have one game left on his two-way contract for the Dallas Mavericks. So something to continue to watch out for as Brandon Williams continues to wind down his two-way deal with the Dallas Mavericks. Caleb Martin is also available tonight. He is, of course, that's right. That's right. He plays for the Mavericks. Caleb Martin is available. Of course, he's been dealing with the right hip strain. He's on a 10 to 15 minute restriction tonight for Dallas. So essentially, I mean, Bobby, the face says it all. Essentially, he's not really playing.
10 minutes is tough. I mean, that's just like you're getting one shift.
Yeah,
in the
pretty
second
much.
quarter, one shift in the third. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, so he's on a 10 to 15 minute restriction tonight, is Caleb Martin. Jason Kidd declared during his pregame availability. Tanner's like, what are we doing here? I feel you, Tanner.
I'm excited to see him for 3 more games. Till he goes out again.
Oh, damn.
Okay.
Damn. Tim Cato off the top, bro. Let's take a look at our Mavericks player spotlight coming into tonight. The aforementioned Najee Marshall. Najee Marshall has been absolutely fantastic for the Dallas Mavericks. He was on a straight heater on Tuesday night, dropping a career-high 38 points against the New York Knicks, including 28 in the first half, where he went 13 of 15 from the field in that first half. In his last 10 games, averaging over 24 points per game, shooting 54% from the field, while grabbing nearly 8 boards and nearly 4 assists per contest that he's dishing out, while playing 36.5 minutes a night. So Najee Marshall carrying the heavy load offensively for the Dallas Mavericks. Jason Kidd talking about the growth of Najee Marshall and the hot streak that he is on right now, what he's been bringing to the Dallas Mavericks. Here's what Jason Kidd had to say.
Yeah, Marshall has done everything we've asked on both ends, defensively and offensively. Offensively here of late, he's playing at a high level, and we need that, being shorthanded. His ability to score in the paint, being able to make the right plays for his teammates, but he's taking full advantage, also being able to play make and have the ball in the offense. And again, I don't think he made a 3, or maybe made 1 3 in the last game, but had over 30 points and just shows his ability to get in the paint and score. And we're going to need that again tonight.
Bobby, I like the way that you put it on Tuesday night. You called it an ethical 38 points that he scored because he only made 1 3 that particular night. He just kept getting downhill, getting into the paint. We saw the variety of floater packages that he has and really just carved up, if you will, Mark Stein, the Knicks defense on Tuesday night.
Yeah, this will be a tougher task just because Orlando has more length, more size, more bodies to contend with him. The Knicks, dude, I don't really know what to make of that team. I just don't know what to make. You figure that you have OG and Mikhail, you put one of them on Najee, it's going to completely shut him down. Maybe they were taking it easy. Maybe Najee's way better than we think. Maybe it was just a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Who knows? But tonight is going to be a similar, if not more challenging level of opposition that Najee's going up against, because not only does Orlando have the length, but also the strength too. Najee's a pretty strong guy. He'll bounce off people. He can be a little herky-jerky, but he can also just be really physical. Paolo is not really going to give if you run into him. You're going to get bumped back. Same with Carter and some of the other guys that they have. So, I love watching Najee play. I know he's gonna try and get me at least 15 points tonight. I got faith in the knife.
Yeah, I mean, he's theoretically a player who isn't affected by length and size, theoretically. And I think that is the case if you have, one of your superstar shot creators on the other side of the floor and he's driving against an unsettled defense. Theoretically, he is that way because he is so good at operating in the 5 to 9 foot range that he doesn't need to get all the way to the rim. That teams build entire defensive structures and systems to make sure there's a help defender arriving at the rim as your weak side role player drives and gets there. And Najee is somebody who's like, oh, well, you just got to the rim, but I don't need to be at the rim. I'm just going to score over you from 5 feet. But so much of what he's doing in the way he's succeeding of late has been as an isolation player, has been somebody who is beating his own man. And I think that's just going to be a little bit tougher. Like, the help's going to be there a little bit sooner. The floor is not going to be as scrambled. People are going to be loading up for him because who else are you going to load up for? I mean, Anthony Davis being back obviously helps, but, there's 2 players on Dallas, maybe 3 that you really worry about on the offensive end in terms of Anthony Davis, Najee Marshall, and
I don't think Orlando has to
Brandon
double
Williams.
80 in the way that Brooklyn did either.
No, they don't. They really don't. And so I do think this is going to be a good test. And it could be a moment where he comes back to earth, or it could be a moment where we throw all logic out the window and say the Dallas Mavericks are building around Najee Marshall. From now into the future, he is Luka's replacement because he's better, in fact, than Luka ever was.
I mean, lately he's been, for a month now, he's been like 20 points per game and kind of average defense. Sometimes makes plays, sometimes has some rough nights depending on the matchup. But that caliber player for his contract, massive bargain for the Mavs, and he deserves all the love and respect and cashola on the other side of this contract if he keeps playing like this.
Yeah, they're going to need that offensive load more again from Najee Marshall. No PJ Washington tonight for the second straight game as he's out with the left ankle sprain this time around, so he will not be available again for the Mavericks as they continue their road trip. The starters for tonight's game for your Dallas Mavericks against the Orlando Magic: Spencer Dinwiddie, Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall, Anthony Davis, and Kai Jones is the starting 5 for your Dallas Mavericks. Again, Spencer Dinwiddie, Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall, Anthony Davis, and Kai Jones, your starting 5 for tonight's game. Again, arguably the biggest lineup you can run out there with the Mavericks, with Anthony Davis being back and Kai Jones continuing to play well on his 2-way deal. With Spencer Dinwiddie running things, he's been really good as of late in terms of his ability to not only find guys, but also protect the basketball. And he'll need to do that tonight against a Orlando Magic team, gentlemen. That's one of the best defensive teams in the league. Jamal Mosley has this group playing well on that end of the floor, which gets us to some of our X factors for tonight's game. And we'll start with this one for me. You got to protect the basketball against Orlando. We mentioned how much length, size, and strength that they have as far as their front court is concerned. This is a team in Orlando, number 7 in the league in steals per game this year. They're also number 1 in blocks per game as a team so far this year. So if you're going to be getting into the lane, you got to be able to make sure that you're converting, because otherwise they got active hands when it comes to getting in the pass lanes, but also blocking shots as well. A team that can really cause disruption for you on the defensive end when it comes to Orlando.
And I think a lot of those steals. So Jalen Suggs is obviously not in the lineup. He's out right now, hurt for a while for Orlando. So it's not necessarily that they're committing steals by just pressuring you on the ball and just ripping it away from your lead ball handler. They're causing steals because you can't get a good shot against them, and you get late in the shot clock, and you're panicking, and you make mistakes that you wouldn't typically make. That they have size in places that you're not expecting, and all of a sudden you're throwing a ball that's usually an open pass, or you're driving down and you're expecting to be able to get kind of bail out of it, or all of a sudden you're at the rim and you're thinking this should be a layup, and all of a sudden there's a 7-footer in your way, and so. They're not, it's not that they're going to just rip it out of Spencer Dinwiddie's hands and go 100% the other way. But this is a scary team, second in the league in turnover rate as a defense, same as their overall rated defense. So it's definitely something to watch, definitely something important. And, I think this is absolutely a game where Dallas needs to take shots, take the first. Don't hesitate to take a shot. Take the first one available, because it's probably going to be one of the better ones you get.
Yeah, especially with this team and their length that they present. Number 2, in terms of X factors, if you're the Mavericks tonight, you got to take advantage of the limited second chance opportunities that you're going to have against Orlando. So far this year, Orlando is number 1 in the NBA, allowing the fewest second chance points per game. They're only allowing just a shade under 12 points per game in second chance opportunities. So if you're going to have some, you got to take advantage of it, because otherwise Orlando is not allowing you second chance opportunities to score. Again, part of the MO for them is defending you like crazy. They may not score. They're only averaging 105 points per game so far as a team this year, but defensively, they are not allowing teams to score a lot as well. That is how they make their money when it comes to winning these games. And they've been much better as the season has gone on, especially with Paolo Banchero back in the lineup.
Yeah, they're very, it's everything bleeds down. This is what, the reasons they're good at defense, the reasons they're good at committing turnovers or getting you to commit turnovers is the reasons they're good at just being present, not allowing second chance opportunities. This is a team that understands its identity and leans into it, and that definitely poses a problem. Obviously, when you're going against an offense this bad, I think it's a little bit harder to go up against a team that is unstoppable in one way and just pathetic in the other. I think it's a little bit easier to go up against an average defense and an average offense than the best, one of the, top 2 defense and a bottom 2 offense. It just poses, like, having to go up against at least one unit that is actually elite does pose problems that I think this kind of, halfway there, half injured, not fully assembled Mavericks roster, they might just not have solutions for it.
And Orlando's offense is better than whatever near the bottom. I mean, they've just been so banged up all year.
Absolutely,
one of the most banged up teams, just like the Mavs. And so, the last 10 games, for example, their league average right around where Dallas is. And so if you can be league average at one thing and then top 5 at another thing, then that's like fringe contender almost. Obviously their record is very poor, in part because they've had guys out all year. But I mean, if this Orlando team was healthy, they're easily top 15, top 12 offense and easily top 5 or better defense. And I mean, that's fringe contender. Top 10 is title contender category. So I think that they're decently close. I really like what they're doing down there. It's kind of this, like, we think small ball, but as my guy Skin Wade always says, and Don Nelson said it before him, it's not small ball, it's skill ball. And for the longest time, the most skilled guys have been small. Orlando's got 2 guys that are like 6'10", 6'11", that are just as skilled as most of the best guards in the league, and they're kicking your ass every single night at both ends of the floor. Very, very unique style of play, and they keep complimenting those guys with more, like Anthony Black, 6'6", 6'7", same thing.
I like him.
They got a lot of guys that are very, very tall and very, very skilled, and obviously three-point shooting has been their bugaboo for a really, really long time. Let's see if they can improve there, but I mean, this is a team that they're not very far away from being really, really, really freaking good if they could just stay healthy for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, very well coached team as far as they are as well, with Jamal Mosley running the show down there in Orlando. You got to bring your hard hat against this Orlando Magic team, because they will get after you physically and defensively, but they've got a really incredible talent in Paolo Banchero that can do it on both ends of the floor. Going to be tough for the Mavericks.
And Franz. Equal level.
Yeah. I want to Franz. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the impression is, like, obviously Paolo might be a fraction ahead of where Franz is, but they really need to be viewed on the same level. Like, these are 2 stars that are just both incredibly good.
With a win tonight, the Mavericks can move ahead into the 10 spots ahead of the Phoenix Suns by virtue of their loss last night, if they're able to get a win. So a big one tonight for the Dallas Mavericks as they attempt to get into the top 10 of the Western Conference. We will be back after tonight's game is over, with 15 minutes after the final buzzer here on the DLLS Mavs post-game show. We'll have reaction to tonight's game and break it all down for you here on our DLLS Mavs.
And some tasty treats on display, too.
That's right, on display. Unfortunately, you can't reach through the television and grab them, but we will be able to enjoy them for you. And then tell you about him as well. Appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. Appreciate you, sir. That's our Mavericks analyst Bobby Curl. That's our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. I'm your host Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. It's game time for your Mavericks to take on the Orlando Magic on the road. We'll talk to you on our post game show here on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.